Hey everyone, it's Marcin again. Welcome back to another piece of photography business journey. Today we're diving deeper into the topic that can really transform your work: lenses. So in this video, here is what you're going to learn. First, we're going to break down the essential lenses every photographer should have in their toolkit. Next, we'll talk about when and why to use each lens to get the best results. And finally, I'll share a few insider tips to help you make the most out of your lens collection, no matter your budget. Remember, each of these videos is a piece of a bigger puzzle. I'm walking you through the whole journey of building your photography business step by step. So by the end, you'll have a full roadmap or blueprint. And of course, stick around till the end for a little bonus cheat sheet that summarizes everything we cover today. Let's dive in. Lens selection, choosing the right tool for your photography. Welcome to this training session on lens selection. We'll dive into popular lens types for photographers of all levels. So let's dive in. There's four things when people choose their lenses. There's four things that I always highlight for them because I want to make sure like those are the categories that you need to consider when you're buying lenses. So first one is aperture. Consider the maximum. By the way, whenever I get technical, I always tell you, I can almost promise that I will, even if I read something on the slide, it may sound technical, I'll slow down and then I'll explain it in a simpler language. For those of you that understand, you can automatically filter through it. For those that don't, I think it's going to be helpful. I remember when I was learning this, whenever somebody said something like a word or a phrase, and I didn't understand it, it just got complicated. I was demotivated, so I just want to make sure that that's not something that happens to you guys. So, aperture. Consider the maximum aperture f-stop for low light performance and depth of field control, durability and build quality. Evaluate the lens construction and weather sealing for longevity and reliability in various conditions. Sensor compatibility, ensure the lens is compatible with the camera sensor size, whether it's a full frame or crop sensor, to achieve the intended field of view. And price consideration, balance your budget with features and performance you need, exploring options within your price range. So now let's take this apart, slice and dice it so I can explain exactly what I mean. So first, aperture. When you're buying those kit lenses, very often, I'm going to show you an example, guys. So very often when you're buying, most lenses that I have seen usually have some markings around the outside ring here. It could be on the back side of the lens here, or it could actually be, let me switch to this screen, maybe you can see better. Or sometimes it's even like inside when you look at one of those rings. You're gonna see numbers, and the number here is 100 millimeter lens. I'll talk about it in a second, but this one has it's written as a ratio, like 1 colon, and then it has a number, or it has a 1 colon and it has it has two numbers listed. So in this case, it's 1 colon 2.8. What that means is this lens, you cannot zoom with this lens. This is a prime lens, meaning there's no zoom. It's fixed. It's you put it on, and the way you see it, you can't change it. You can't zoom in. You can't zoom out. It's just kind of fixed. So 2.8 means the light that comes in here, you can adjust the setting on this lens to go 2.8 at the lowest to go to like 11 or 22 at the top, right? If the number is 2.8, the 2.8 number, when I shoot, I'll speak in those terms. Instead of getting technical, 98% of the time that I shoot, and this is all shoots, I stay at 2.8. Somebody may disagree. This is what I do. This is what I have been doing for 17 years. And this is something that has been working for me. When I work with landscapes or when I work with groups, I try to crank that number from 2.8 higher. Sometimes also I go lower. This lens will not allow me to go lower. This is 2.8 at the lowest, meaning it allows the most light. And if the number is lower, the blur behind you when you're focusing on your subject, the background is really blurry. At 2.8, it does a phenomenal job. If you're looking at another lens, this is a 50 millimeter lens. Just so you can see it there. This lens also on the outside ring here has numbers, and this one says 1:1.2. So the difference between 1.2 and 2.8, 2.8 will be blurry, the 1.2 will be even more blurry. So this is when we talk about depth of field, and a lot of people are like, what is depth of field? It's basically when you're looking at my face and you focus on the tip of my nose. With 2.8, my tip of my nose and my ears and probably a little bit behind it will be in focus, will be sharp. So if there's somebody standing next to me, everybody's face, that plane that we have, plane is, you know, tip of my nose, my face, will be in focus. When you go to 1.2 lens, tip of my nose will be in focus, and literally my temples would be already out of focus. Why is this good? It's great for portrait photography because automatically the image focuses on the face, right? Everything else is sort of like becoming blurry and then really blurry in the back because you don't care about the background. So, so the lenses that go lower are nice for like when you get a close-up and you're shooting a portrait. It's phenomenal for that. When you're shooting at 2.8, the depth of field is a little less, and then as you crank up the numbers, you're losing the blurriness behind you. So so that's just something to keep in mind. Aperture, make sure when you're buying those kit lenses, it's different. When you're looking at the kit lenses, the ratio will be 1 column, and then there will be sort of like a bracket from 2.8 to like 5.4. What that means is that lens, the kit lens you're buying, it has zooming capability, so you can go back and forth, right? The problem is when you put settings in your camera and you're zoomed out all the way, you're taking a photo, everything looks great. Now suddenly you have a need to zoom in, right? To get closer on your subject. Guess what? Because there is a range from 2.8 to 5.4, you're gonna change settings in your camera just by zooming. And then you have to manually adjust your camera. That's not convenient. If you're home, if you're taking pictures of your cat or your dog, not a problem. But if you're on a spot, if you're working with a subject, if you're working with kids, if you're working with bridal party, you don't have time to be playing this math game of like, okay, well, I zoomed in, now I gotta readjust, and you have to be sort of in the moment, like you set it once to 2.8, and you just sort of forget it. Like you set the lighting, everything is great, then you just focus on like aligning people and making sure and directing them, right? Your subjects. So that's really big factor. The kit lenses are usually the ones with the range. They're cheaper lenses. Something to pay attention to. Is it good for, you know, your uncle or your mom or your neighbor? Yes, if they're just gonna use their camera in auto mode all the time and shoot it outside most of the time, it's totally fine. They're gonna be okay with, I'm assuming they're gonna be okay with the kit lens. I'm assuming you guys are moving things to the next level. If you're gonna be making money with camera and lenses, invest in the right lenses, stay away from the kit lenses, and just get what you need, which are the lenses where you set, you know, with the fixed aperture. So aperture is one. Durability and build quality. Why is that important? Because if you guys are gonna look at something, I think I have a link for you that I can pull up. Let me see if I can paste it. What do we get here? If you look at this lens here, I am going to show you in a second. All right, this is a good example here. Let's take a look. So if you're going to look at how this lens is built, this is a 50 millimeter lens that cost $125. And this is a 50 millimeter lens. Both are called nifty 50s. And this one is $1,500. This one is 125. Now, when we talk about image differences, are you going to see the difference between the 50 millimeter $125 lens and this $1,500 lens? You are going to see the difference. Your client will see the difference. It's not as apparent maybe, but especially with the 50 millimeter lens, I'm going to talk about it more later. This has image reproduction that very few lenses can touch, if any. Is it okay to do portraits and family pictures and even corporate work with the $125 lens? I think you're absolutely fine. So you should be okay. Don't think you automatically need to jump to the $1,500 lens. Even if you have $1,500, there's going to be another lens I'm going to talk about in a second. So be careful with where you're investing, because you may get excited. You may see some examples of me showing, but it's like, always think about where are you, right? And like, where are you in your journey, in your story? If you're at the beginning, you need to focus on a different lens when you're building your collection. When you have money to blow and you have money coming in from events or your shoots, then it's a different conversation. You can pick up additional gear, and that's not a problem. Again, I'm careful with I think I'm very frugal with my equipment. A lot of times I buy used equipment from the sellers that I can, like on eBay. When I go out and buy something, I make sure that somebody has a really high rating, that they have sold or are selling similar equipment. And I got to tell you, so far, I don't want to jinx it, but so far it's going good. So even going that route, if you're not, everybody feels comfortable buying used equipment. I recently picked up a camera 5D Mark IV at it was $1,000. So this is $3,000. It was a used camera with lower shutter count. What that is basically I can tell how many times the mirror was flipping in a camera, how many exposures. And this way I can tell, like, if it's something that has 30,000 exposures or 20,000 exposures, some amateur bought it and probably has no use for it, and then they're selling. I bought it. It looked, when I got the box, it looked almost brand new. So I don't have an issue doing that. Just I'm just careful, and I just review like who's selling and just making sure that they are highly rated on eBay. But back to durability. So the differences between the 50 and this one. This one, guys, this one is. I wish you could touch it and grab it. This one, this is a heavy lens. Like, this lens is well, it's not as heavy as this one, but it's super durable. And I'll tell you a story. I was at the wedding one time, and I had my 2470, which is on this camera mounted right now, and I had the lens mounted obviously to my camera, and then I had flash on top of it, and the flash was connected to a charging cord on the battery that I was wearing on my waist. And I went to use the restroom. And next thing, I put the camera on the counter to go pee. And guess what happened? I essentially ended up dragging the camera off the counter onto the floor. I thought I would like smash it or something would happen. And I got to tell you, the $1,500, $1,400, $1,900 lenses, they're built like tanks. So it's not about image quality. They're sealed for weather. So if you're outside and it's raining, are they water resistant, waterproof? They are sealed to the point where I don't have to worry about. Well, let's say you work in an environment where it gets humid. So you change your environment. Let's say you're shooting an event. You're inside with AC on. You step outside and it's hot. When you have one of the cheap lenses, they're gonna basically fog up inside the lens, and it's a big problem because it takes a while before you can. The lens will eventually be fine. It just needs to dry up. The problem is you don't usually have that much time. Those higher end lenses are sealed, and not only they can take a hit, but they are also built for those situations. So you don't have to worry about it. Are you going to see condensation when you leave a house and put it in the trunk and it's hot? Yes, but it's not as bad. Like, you can wipe it off. It's going to be back to sort of normal. within like minutes, and you don't have to worry about the insights and your image quality then. So that's really the difference. And that's really what it is on the durability. Now the sensor compatibility. I think it's a common question. People say, "Hey, what's the difference? Should I get?" They hear this term of like the crop sensor versus the full size, and you just have to make sure that the lenses, because the lenses are designed for either of those sensors, and that's why I kind of like buying from the places where people selling you the equipment know what they are talking about, because a kid in Best Buy will probably not be able to tell you. Some will, some not. But when you buy from a reliable location, they'll make sure that like, yes, this lens fits your camera, and I absolutely love it. So it's just, you have to make sure that, because I'm going to show you, it has literally different threads when you connect the camera. So let's say you buy a mirrorless camera, but you're trying to buy a used a lens online that's not matching. This is one of those mounts we call EF, and the other one is RF. So if you have a mismatch, you may get a lens from eBay to your camera that you have at home. Then you get it, you can't connect it. So again, you just have to make sure that the camera that you have matches what you're buying. So just something to be aware of. And then price considerations. I already said, please don't blow money on any equipment. Try to buy used. Try to even rent. I've rented even. I think I've rented for about a year and a half, if not 2 years, into my journey. Because what happened was, another good story is, I basically bought a entry level DSLR camera, and now you're not going to have this problem, because we're talking 17 years ago. So I was in a low light situation where I couldn't use flash, and the ISO simply wasn't there. And when I went home, I immediately sold the camera, because I'm like, this is not going to work. But I couldn't afford the setup that I needed, so I ended up renting cameras. Lens rentals. There's another one that I can recommend. I can probably do an episode on that, just to kind of show you like what it works like and what you can expect and what's the cadence when it comes in, how you have to ship it out. So that's a separate conversation. But you can rent before you buy. If you're buying, try to combine used with new equipment, unless you're 100%, conviction is there, you know what you're doing. Maybe you're upgrading from where you are, then you can commit and you can spend money. You have a green light from Marcin to do that. So let's move forward here. I will switch to the this screen here, and we're going to start with 2470. Now, before I do this, I wanted to show you guys two more links here, because a lot of times I get the question of like, yeah, you're talking about Canon equipment, but I'm a Nikon shooter, and I just wanted to show you. So this is 2470 on the screen that you see, and as you can tell, it comes with some sort of another crazy kit. So try to avoid those. But I'm opening another tab here just so you could see an equivalent, right? So you will see that 2470 f 2.8, $2,000 for this lens for the kit. But when you scroll down here, again, you're going to see the latest the latest lenses, or the R mount lenses. This is the EF mounts. This is the mirrorless. This is the DSLR. So when I'm looking at, I'm going to stick to my camera just as an example. So when I have a 5D Mark IV, it's a DSLR. This is the camera with the mirror. So I'm looking at this lens here, 2470, 2.8, $1899, and the same lens from Nikon, 2470, 2.8. So you can see that it's the same range, same focal length. Everything is the same, right? And identical situation here you will probably see with let's pull up. I was talking about I was showing you guys the white body lens, which is the 7200. So you can see that 7200 here is 7200 2.8. That's the price there. And let's see if Nikon has a similar lens. Another tab that I need. All right, let's see. So this is Nikon, and you can it's equivalent, right? $1,900 for this lens, and this one is with the kit. 1,500, but 2,000, 7,200, 2.8. This is Mark III. This just means the third generation of the same lens. It's 2,000. So it's even the pricing is the same. So that's what I wanted to show you, that it's like when I'm talking about 2470, 7200, 1635, 24 millimeter prime, 35 millimeter prime where you cannot zoom, your 50 millimeter. Like it's just repeats for Canon and Nikon, same deal. Even cameras, entry level, mid level, and high level cameras. When I say high level, those are like for commercial shoots where like you have a team of people and you're shooting with those cameras. It's very similar. So it's always like three levels of cameras, three levels of lenses, like entry, mid-size, and then great lenses like this. For the medium level, very often somebody may ask, are there like alternatives? And yes, ideally, I like to have I'm in a position where I can match my equipment, so I can have Canon camera with a Canon flash with a Canon lens. Do you have to do that? Absolutely not. You don't. So there's other alternatives, and the same thing for Nikon. There are companies like Tamron or Sigma that have phenomenal equipment. Will you see the difference in image? Probably not. And the thing is, again, what are we optimizing for? We're not trying to prove which lens is better. We're basically delivering something to the client, and we're saying, I use my equipment as tools, right? So will this tool deliver a certain quality of image to a client? This is another tool. And will the client be able to tell the difference? Because if you're spending $5,000 more on a camera and the client in the end on the receiving end is not able to tell, like, is there even a difference? Then you're wasting your capital. So just something to be aware of. So you guys saw this. Is there another example? And this time I don't think it's the lens. Well, let me just take a look. I had another link for you here. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was. This one is about camera. So let's wait with this one. And let me see. I know there were two other ones, and those I can probably show you at the very end, because I just wanted to highlight some differences. I know I'm covering a lot of ground, but I have a link here for you that you will see in a moment. And I have another link here. All right, that you guys need to see. And one more. Thanks for bearing with me. But I want to make sure you totally understand what we were talking about here. So, all right, so let me just run through the lenses and tell you what my take on this is. So 2470, I picked this lens as a go-to at the very beginning. If this is the first lens you're investing your money in, go with 2470, whether Canon, Nikon, I already told you, or some other brand. Why? Because I will assume that most of you that are starting are going to cover wider spectrum. So you're not going to focus on just one thing. Most of the photographers, when they're starting, when they get different opportunities, and also not only opportunities to make money, but also opportunities to practice different genres of photography, you're going to be more flexible in terms of your focal lengths. And this lens is perfect for this, because you can zoom in, you can zoom out, so you can take portraits, you can take pictures of groups, you can take pictures of locations where you are. So when you're working with businesses, for businesses, with families, with individuals, with groups, in the church maybe, this lens is your go-to lens. This is the lens that I use a lot, especially for the event situation. When we're in the church shooting groups and the group is larger, this would be the go-to lens. When I'm in the house, in a small confined space, in a room where I'm close to my subject, and I need to zoom out, I can't use like one of those, big guys, because I'm too close to my subject. So if I was to put a lens like this on my camera, I would see just part of her face. This, I can zoom out and see the room and the surroundings and the people that are surrounding the subject. So 24-70, let's see, all around, the 24-70 is a great all-around lens, perfect for various shooting scenarios. Its zoom capabilities adapt to different spaces and situations, from wide-angle shoots to portraits. So I think I've covered it all. Great go-to lens. In my opinion, again, this would be something I would be probably investing my money first, because it's a very versatile lens that you can use throughout, and you'll be using it forever. Next one, the powerful 7200. Guys, the quality of image that those lenses now deliver are it's almost like cheating. So this is Mark III, I believe, and I've had this lens for a while now. You point this lens. This is actually Mark II, so this is not Mark III, and you point this guy at your subject when you're doing photography, when you're doing portrait photography, right? It's a long lens. It's a pretty heavy lens. If you put it on the camera body here in the back and a flash, you're gonna feel it, man. Like when we shoot weddings, and if sometimes I shoot for like 10 hours or longer sometimes. Like I feel my back a little bit. This lens for portraits. Why? Hey, just pausing this for a quick second. If you're finding this content helpful, I've got something special for you. I've put together a handy resource that dives deeper into today's topic. If you're interested, simply click on the link in the description and you'll be taken to a page to enter your email, and I'll send it straight to your inbox. Let's go back to the video. Why is this lens maybe better than the other wider one? So many people, for those that do not understand, for those that understand, great, congratulations. For those that do not know, let's explain. So you're looking at the image right now. I'm sitting in this frame, right? And behind me, not only you see me in the middle, but you also see the bookcases in the back. 24-70 lens, if I put it on, you would probably see beyond, like you would probably see side walls. I mean, 24-70 is on, it's just zoomed in. But if I zoom out all the way, you would see walls. There's a closet on my right and there's a window on my left. So you would see that's more of that space, including me. So if you're taking a portrait of me and you zoom in, you have really kind of like, you have to deal with this background. And if your background is busy like mine, it's sometimes a problem. If you want to isolate your subject and you really don't care what's behind, if you put the 7200 on, you obviously have to stand a little, further away from me. But this is the lens that we use for all of our portraits. This is a go-to lens for portraits. Sometimes I like to sneak in 50 if it's like not as important of a portrait. Like if maybe other family members, I would do this. For like bride and groom, when I'm shooting subject, when I'm working with seniors, when I'm working with professionals taking their shots. I had recently had an engagement with, like, I was shooting photography for a doctor. This is the go-to. And what it's doing is you're basically pointing the camera at me, and your field, your angle, I should say angle of view. Hold on, let me figure out which finger is which. Your angle in the back, you don't see the crap behind me. It basically tightens up the angle. So you see your subject and you see just literally what's behind them, and you don't see anything sort of on the sides. It could be good. Sometimes it's not. That's why I kind of go back between the two. But I got to tell you, portrait work, 90% of portrait work is done with this lens. Absolutely love it. Nikon, Canon, doesn't matter. This is the focal length where you want to be. Some people swear by 85 millimeter. It's a fixed lens. I don't have it. I work with a 7200. If you have 85 millimeter, it's also like a sweet spot. The 70 millimeter, when I zoom in, I'm still shooting at about 85, 90 to 100. So that's just that. Love this lens. What does it say here? Detail 7200 millimeter. Excels. Let me pull up the slide so you can follow with me. The 7200 millimeter excels in portrait and event photography, capturing details from a distance. I'll talk about that in a second. Its ability to compress the background creates a beautiful bokeh and making the subject stand out. So going back to the detail, capturing details from distance, also a perfect lens. Sometimes you don't want to interrupt the moment. If bride and groom is in the middle of the floor doing the first dance, if I work with kids, you don't want to distract the moment. Sometimes you see a situation and you want to like capture it. By the time you get close, you're noticed. Like people will stop doing what they're doing because they're going to focus on you just because you're kind of getting closer to them as a some sort of a creep. But with this lens, you can shoot from a distance. You can zoom in for candid photography. It's an awesome lens because I can shoot from a distance. I never interrupt the moment. I'm not trying to be too intrusive. For kids, same deal. As I get closer, they start paying attention to me. It gets a little weird. When I'm shooting with this lens, it's so much better because I can do it from the distance. So same with like church. I don't want to be in the middle where the bride and groom are doing their vows. I stand on the side. I can be like get a pretty good distance, and I can just shoot from both sides. So I'm not sort of interrupting the intimate moment, and that's why I absolutely love this lens. So between the combination of like portrait shooting and being able to do that is fantastic. All right, what's next on the agenda? The detailed 100 millimeter macro lens. And this is this lens right here. I think I started with this one showing you the numbers. And let me switch to this one maybe so you guys can see better. This lens, nothing too complicated. It's a $300 lens, maybe $280, maybe $350 now. I love it. I love it because for product photography and portrait photography, it's sort of like a universal lens. And when I talk, when I say product photography, all the pictures that you're seeing online of like super close up, almost like putting rings under the microscope, this is the lens for you. So it's nice because as you get really close to your subject, if I'm photographing this pen or like literally tip of this pen, it'll give me a nice crisp detail of just the top, top of the cap. But when I move away, this is a 100 millimeter lens. So it's almost like the 7200, the mid range of that is 100. So for portrait, also, it helps you with sort of cramming that background behind your subject. So I would say great lens if you can afford. It's not an expensive lens. I bought it. If something ever happened, I would immediately just repurchase this one because it's when you create some sort of a collage of your pictures, or maybe you're putting pictures into an album, when you're taking a wide, because you're basically telling a story of what happened on the day, when you're using 2470 like a wide lens to show where you are, and then you're using something for portraits and then this one for like super close-ups and details, it really tells a nice story. That's really when people look at your albums and they look at something, they're like, oh my god, I love it. I don't even know why, but like, because you just told the story. It's not an image. Not everything is shot at the same length. And mentally, psychologically, we respond to this storytelling so much better. So I love this lens. It says close up, the 100 millimeter macro lens is perfect for capturing intricate details, ideal for product photography, which I mentioned already. And then its sharpness and beautiful bokeh makes it a great choice. Make it a great choice for portraits, especially close-ups. I mentioned that already. The word bokeh, are we cool with that? Like most people know what it is. If you don't, bokeh is basically what happens in the back. So like when people refer to blur or distortions on corners, like some cheaper lenses, you would see like objects kind of being deformed. Even with wider lenses like 1635 lens, if you put it on your camera and get closer to your subject, if you get closer to your, like, you will see distortions in your face. People don't kind of look naturally. So with that being said, also distortions, we're gonna look at my lens that I have a love-hate relationship with, and this is the 50. Guys, the way this lens reproduces image, it's just insane. It's super crisp, and it's just, I can't describe it in words really, but when I look at the image, it almost like pulls subject out of the background. Like it's so crisp. It does such a nice job isolating your subject, the person that's standing in a photo, and the rest of the subject. It almost looks like you know how like Facebook creates those 3D portraits where like subject is in one place and the background moves or whatever happens there. I know it's a probably weird comparison, but like this one, I don't know what it's doing, how they did it, but it's awesome. I don't use it as often, as much as I'm happy with it. I sometimes use it during the day, probably 15%, maybe 20%, not even of the time. And great durable lens, $1,500 though for like a prime lens. People that do photography, family photography, swear by this thing, and I kind of agree, because if you have a small group of people, between like one person to maybe, I don't know, 6 individuals, where you don't have to move really, really far, right, to take a picture of them, the 50 millimeter is fantastic lens. Sharpness, 50 millimeter lens. I don't think I'm sharing an image with you, so the sharpness, the 50 millimeter lens mimics the natural human field of view. I'll talk about it in a second. Creating lifelike portraits. And aperture, its wide aperture allows for excellent low light performance and beautiful background blur. Affordability, it's a great addition for capturing everyday moments with natural feel. Affordability, $1,500, like I said. But I wanted to mention this human field of view. The difference is this: when you have a lens like this 24-70, when you put it on a camera and you're zoomed out all the way, when you put it on your camera originally, you feel like everything is sort of zoomed out. It's not like how your eye sees. If I put the 24 millimeter lens on and look through my camera viewfinder, everything seems to be more distant, like zoomed out. When on the other hand, I put the 70-200 and I'm zoomed, even the 70 millimeter, when I put it on, or like 85 millimeter lens on, everything seems closer. So everything is zoomed in. When I put 50 millimeter on and I look through my camera, everything looks like almost the same way as I see with my eye. So 50 millimeter is this sort of middle ground between, like, it's not zoomed in, it's not zoomed out. It looks just right. So that's why I love it. That's why it does this reproduction so good. And if you get the experience of owning one, you're absolutely gonna love it. So that's the 50 millimeter that we have covered, and the last one here is the weird one of the family, and it's not something that you would find in another probably photographer's collection of lenses. I know that people either swear by them, love them, or hate them. That's just how I would describe it. This is a 45 millimeter. You see it has like weird knobs and adjustments on the side. I don't know if you guys can see it. See this like things sticking out on this side. This lens is not really designed for portraits. It was designed for like it says here, perspective. The tilt shift lens corrects perspective in architectural photography. When you're doing pictures of buildings, when you put a regular lens on, and let's say you're a skyscraper, you're photographing that, you'll notice that it distorts the architectural photographers know this, but the lines are not how our eyes see that. The just nature of glass kind of creates this curvature, and the lines don't look natural. They actually kind of point upwards, and they're the lenses, what's the best way to describe it? They sort of like bring them together. With this, they're perfectly perpendicular, how our eyes see it. So this lens was created for this, but I saw photographers shooting with this, creating this nice, bokeh, blurry, kind of weird effect. Took me about 4 months maybe to get comfortable with this lens, because everything is manual. You gotta like twist things on one side and on the other side. But I gotta tell you, I have a set of images that I recreate at every wedding, and it's cool because my clients go to the website, they see those images. I just sprinkle them in the gallery. They see those images, they come, they mention those images, then they get those images. It's almost like a signature thing. And this is when I talk about like some lenses, like the ones that I mentioned before, are your workhorses your sort of basic stable of horses, tools that do majority of the work. The 45 millimeter lens, this is like a style lens. I think of this lens kind of the same as I think of like a 24 millimeter prime lens, which is also not a zoom, just a fixed lens. A 35 millimeter, even 85 millimeter, even though it like falls within this range, it's like a, you either love 85 millimeter lens or like you don't have it as part of your collection. Same with the 45 the tilt shift, same with 35 and 24. Even the lens that I'm going to talk about last here, which is a fisheye lens, you'll see that it's like a very specific lens, and photographers like to introduce those other lenses to like create this different feel, different style. This is what clients get attached to. They love it, and as you know, you kind of attract what you present, right? So a lot of times we're afraid to experiment with styles or lenses because we look at other photographers, we don't see that, and it's like, well, it's not. But like later on, your clients will come, they'll see it, and like, I don't know why, but I love those images. Same thing happened with the 45 millimeter lens, and I'm like, we're leaving it as part of our collection. And literally, I mean, I spend a good amount of time shooting with this style lens throughout the day. So so the last one here, let's just make sure we covered everything here. Perspective, tilt shift lens corrects perspective in architectural photography. It also creates unique effects, helping define a photographer's style. Yeah, so we're good here on this one. And the last one here is the expensive 14 millimeter fisheye. The fisheye lens captures expensive scenes and adds creative wide-angle perspectives. It adds a fun, creative element to photography, great for specific shots. I saw this lens, another photographer using, a friend of mine, and typically fisheye lenses, if you put them on your camera, they distort the image. I never kind of was a fan of that. It looks kind of, in my eyes, I just didn't dig the style. You know, you can yell at me, but like for me, selective color, like the whole picture, black and white with some one part thing selected in color, I hate it. A lot of people will say, I love it. That's cool. It's just we're different in terms of what we're trying to sell to our clients. With fisheye, I was the same way. I was like, you know, it's nice because it gives you this wide perspective. So when you're like in a small room and you're trying to capture like what's inside, because with 14 millimeter, if I stand in the corner of this room that I'm in, I take a photo, I can almost see the entire room, right? Because it has like a super wide angle of view. So when I'm standing in the corner, like you don't see me, but almost entire room is visible. The problem with that, it was a lot of distortion. And then the Canon came out with this 14 millimeter. And I got to tell you, this puppy is probably $2,400. It's like a super expensive lens for what it is. But it's just not something nothing in my portfolio can replace this lens. So that one is a really good lens. And that's just, you know, things that you need to consider, right? Like when you're defining your style, when you're moving to the next level, I always say rent one first. Rent it, see what it's about, see if you like it. Take some photos with it. Take some, you know, like when you rent one, make sure you have somebody aligned. Maybe you know, a friend, maybe a family member, maybe somebody your kid wants to take a picture with. When you get the lens, don't just kind of walk around and take pictures of your cat. Take pictures of people, because that's who you're gonna, you know, be pulling your money from. So you got to make sure that the quality of the image is there. Rent, try it out, and then invest. Used first, if you are comfortable with that, and if not, buy new, no problem with that. So that's really it. And I think we're good. Wrap up. Probably, yes, we've covered popular lenses and types. One other thing I wanted to show you guys here. This was the last slide. Did I show you the? I hope I shared it. I kind of went quickly through it. This was the 14 millimeter lens that we were talking about, and this is the last slide. But what I really wanted to show you is we sort of stopped here at the lenses. But what I wanted to show you, because I mentioned at the very beginning, I just want to like wrap it up and in conclusion just show you this stuff. So body, just buy the body, the camera body first, and then try to add some lenses. If you have money laying around for the kit, like you will see, this is a kit that they're selling you for $3,000. You don't need all this crap. You can get the chargers later and extra filters later. This is actually, there's another one here for $5,500. And if you look at this camera, like I'm going to click into it, you'll see that it actually comes with like a pro level gear with the red stripe. This is the L series lens. The problem with this is, yes, it's a nice lens and it's probably a lens I can use, but when you look at the specifications of the lens, it's an f4 lens. If you're planning on shooting at 2.8 all day long, and then you get a lens like this, they're charging you, probably $1,000 or $1,500 just for this lens alone. And then you're going to find out it's f4 and like in low lighting, you need 2.8 and like, oh my God, it's a wrong lens. And like, that's exactly why I'm telling you not to commit to kit lenses or any sort of combination. Get the body first for whatever, $1,300, depending on the camera you're buying. I don't know where you are with your budget, but buy body first, add a lens later. Quickly here, just for the, I'm like, most people should know or do know, and for those of you guys don't do now, because there's another thing that I wanted to show you. But for the DSLR, very quickly, the difference, it's the mirror inside. When you're looking at this image, that the thing in the middle here, the mirror, that's really the difference between mirrorless and the DSLR cameras. DSLR cameras have mirror inside, and when you're taking a picture, the mirror basically moves up, and then the image falls onto the camera sensor. Where in the you can actually see an example here. So the mirror goes up, the light falls onto the image sensor. That's how you get the photos. With mirrorless cameras, there's no mirror. So the light comes in, the image comes in, falls onto LCD monitor, and what you see through your viewfinder is not actually a reflection through a mirror. It's an electronic reproduction of the image that goes through the sensor and then reproduced in your viewfinder. So that is really the difference. I would say right now for myself, what I would advise my daughters to do is probably get mirrorless. I mentioned that already. But for me professionally, with stuff that I have, especially the lenses, people ask if they buy a mirrorless camera, can they use the same lenses? I'll talk about it here in a second. I wanted to show you the DSLR versus mirrorless, and here I wanted to show you a couple things also. Just the way, like if you look inside the camera, I love the way they kind of show this, because you can see how it's inside. I don't know if you guys can see it. Can I get this a little closer, tiny bit? Give me 1 sec. Let's see if I can zoom in. You can kind of see that the EF mount lens. This is the camera with the mirror inside. The thing in the middle here. It's a mirror. It's further away from your image sensor. So it's just the layout of the camera. That's why the lenses are different. That's why you need to make sure you match them up. On the right-hand side, RF mount lens here, it's much closer because there's no mirror. The optics can be closer to your light sensor. So that is that. And then let's see below here. I want to skip through it. I also mentioned the mounting, the actual kind of how you screw the lens on. It's different on EF on the left, RF on the right, and you'll see that there's like, even at the bottom you have more pins. 8 pins versus 12 pins. It's the same across distance, but that's what it looks like. And then here, when people ask, like, I have a DSLR, but I'm trying to get mirrorless camera, like I'm in the same sort of debacle. What do I do here? Because I do have a set of lenses, and I can get mirrorless and use one of the adapters here. It's nice. I don't mind doing just for like around the house shooting, maybe some light work. But I gotta tell you, with the adapters, sometimes things get a little crazy at events. Sometimes you drop your equipment, like I told you. So it has durability is important. With the adapter, things like even with cameras with lenses on my camera, things get a little loosey-goosey, like over time. I'm talking, 2, 3, 4 years. So then I send it to Canon. They have to calibrate it. They have to adjust and make sure that the fit is right. So it's super tight. with the adapter. Even though I've shot with the adapter, I've used it, I had no problem. I think that over time it would probably get worse because now you have not one connection but two connections. So that's just something I wanted to point out. And also, if you have a gear in terms of like bags and stuff, when you're adding the adapter, you're using the combination of your old lenses with your mirrorless new camera, it's just space. You have to know that it's more. And the last thing, I will cover this in the episode on cameras, but the full sensor versus the cropped sensor. The difference here is the red rectangle here is a full sensor. Inside is cropped sensor. The quality of image, I think there's a quality of image. I've tried, not as substantial. Your client will not notice. Most professional photographers will tell you that they will go with full frame. I totally agree. If you have a cropped sensor, you can, depending on what you're doing, fine. But yes, more data, more information. Obviously, it'll reproduce better images. If you're just starting, if you have a crop sensor, I wouldn't worry about it. Just continue going until you can upgrade and then go to the full sensor. And the also question I got one time was, so the advantage of the mirrorless cameras, the burst rate, which is, how like you sometimes hear photographers, especially when they do nature and like they want to freeze the bird in a position, or for guys that are shooting like sports, high intensity, a lot of movement events, they have to be able to freeze something. So a lot of times it's not just taking one photo, but like taking 30 photos in 1 second, right? So the mirrorless, it's not limited because the mirror doesn't have to flip. It doesn't, it's not limited. It's not as limited as the DSLR. If you're shooting sports or like that's your go-to thing eventually, then probably mirrorless is your solution from the gate, out of the gate. But if not, then it's not a limitation. I can do bursts a lot of times when I do events, and I have moments when there's like a first kiss or something happening, or a bride walking down the aisle, and I have to react quickly and do like a burst of photos. I can definitely do it with 5D Mark IV. I was able to do it with Mark III. I was able to do it with Mark II. So no issues there. But that's just something to consider. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I love sharing this information with you for free. And the best way you can support me is by subscribing to the channel, obviously, or liking the video or leaving a comment below. Your support means the world to me. And if you have enjoyed the content, make sure to check out the next video suggested on the screen. See you there.